What is it that you're working on right now? Let's start there.
So my current project is my true passion project that actually I was thinking about it how long ago it probably started was probably going on almost 20 years now, but 10 years active. I'm really focused on landscape maintenance. It's fascinating to me to see the way landscapes are maintained, the philosophies, the methodologies, the techniques. It's a whole nother world related to plants that for me, I feel is being really overlooked and something that is quite easy to fix. We've actually made it more complicated than it needs to be. So my current mission is to start a landscape maintenance movement that is towards different techniques, different methodologies, and really focused on the long-term goal of what the landscape was intended to do and how to care for it and how to apply stewardship to it as opposed to trying to control it. So, really, what I'm doing is education. I'm doing educational trainings at the crew level for landscape maintenance companies, acting many times as a liaison between larger properties and their property managers, working with them and working with these landscape maintenance companies to help them elevate their skills, actually make their lives easier, to empower the employees. It goes on and on and on, all a win-win everywhere around.
So you started out then loving plants.
Yeah.
Tell me about your career with plants.
I grew up on a fairly large property in La Habra Heights. It was very, very rural. Didn't have very many friends on the street because the properties were large and not a lot of kids around. But my parents really liked larger properties with expansiveness around them. And what we had was a lot of avocado trees. We had a cacti garden. We had just nature all around us. And so I was captivated by it and spent most of my time outside. I remember as a child crying on the days when it rained because I couldn't go outside. And I really just started doing gardening with my mom and doing projects with my dad, driving tractors. It just became part of my life to be in nature. And I started observing it in a way that captivated me and just has carried on. A college choice that was originally landscape architecture and changed to horticulture because of my love of plants and has led me on a 40-year career of doing nothing but working with plants, which I have absolutely zero regret. Zero. I'm so fortunate, I feel, to have found what really lights me up and makes me happy every day to jump out of bed.
That's great. I love plants and I love plant people. I think plant people are a special breed that
Oh,
I
yeah.
really enjoy hanging out with. Landscape architects often focus on the moment of installation. And from your perspective, at what point does a landscape success truly begin, and why is that moment so often overlooked?
There's so much planning that goes into a landscape, the modern landscapes of today, with the landscape architect and everyone else involved that works so diligently to craft this amazing outcome. And we really miss the mark when we get to the care part, the after installation, and that's where it falls apart because we typically are focused on more of it becomes a cost center more than something of value and longevity. And we look at that in a different way. So the establishment period is really the key. Actually, the very first year, the very first group of people that start to take care of it, that's where a lot of mistakes are made and the patterns are kind of started and then they continue from there, shearing and all other kinds of things that just really destroy the natural intent of a landscape. So it's year one. It's absolutely year one when they're little. It's kind of like the formative years of a
Mhm.
child. You know, those habits stick with you, regardless of whether you like it or not. They kind of stick with you. And
So,
plants are very much the same way.
so when you're brought in as a consultant, tell me about what it is that you provide and how does that benefit everybody that's involved with your services?
So the first thing I do when I am asked to come in and help a landscape maintenance company kind of assess a landscape is I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what's going to really give us longevity in this landscape. Are there plants that have been lost from pruning techniques that aren't correct, done at the wrong time, done in the wrong way, and how much of that is salvageable, and then working on identifying those and then training the crew how to basically reverse that or reestablish structure and things of this nature, and then how to go from there. And really training them about less is more, that it's not about how many times you touch the plant. It's about when you touch the plant and how you do it. Those are so important to the timing and the longevity of these plant materials. And then also how that works with the crew's mentality. When they learn that they don't need to work as hard as they are, that really opens up their mind to something a little bit different. They want to pay attention.
What's the reception like after the initial meet and after they've seen that your methods are successful? People get excited, right?
They get excited. I have to say that sometimes they're definitely non-believers oftentimes. They can understand what I'm explaining to them, yet they feel that sometimes it's gonna be difficult to put into action, and for one reason or another, management won't allow them to do this. It takes too much time to do things in a different way, but when I explain it to the next level, which is that the work you apply now determines how much work you apply later or how much is necessary later. And when you prune a plant hard at the wrong time, especially, you're asking it to respond then. And it's going against the plant's DNA. And when we go against the plant's DNA, these guys can see what happens. So when I offer them a solution as to how to stop the madness, so to speak, they they do clue in and they want to try. They're just sometimes a little apprehensive because they're not sure if they're going to get buy-in from their boss.
What does it take on their end to buy in? And then, what does an ideal client look like to you?
Buy-in just means they have a willingness. Maybe they're tired of doing the same thing over and over and over. I also present it to them in a way of I'm working to empower them so that they can make their decisions based on what the plant needs right there on the spot. And when that happens, that's when the real magic really kind of happens for them. They realize that they don't have to work so hard and the outcomes will be far better. Everybody's going to be happier because the plants are going to look better. The plants are going to respond better. Those are the kinds of things that come out of that in the end. So the ideal client would be somebody who is open to trying new things. I wouldn't say they're new in the aspect of what we're doing today, but they're kind of going back to the roots of plants in terms of only applying or helping them when they need it. I think the goal in mind to keep is that we're trying to help plants be the best versions of themselves. We're not trying to control them, we're simply trying to help them. And so by simple techniques and skill sets, we can really help them and utilize the energy that they have so they end up doing most of the work and not the humans doing the work. So ideal clients are open to that idea.
Can you think of one of your projects where you've been able to reawaken the landscape or and revive it? And how did that process go and what did it feel like?
There's a garden in Newport Beach that has all natives, and they had non-natives before, and it's in an all-native setting. It's a park-like setting, and it's very wild. You have all kinds of animals coming in and critters that can cause damage, like bunnies and things like that. And explaining to them that the process would take several years and asking for their patience was a big part of the success of this landscape. Also working with the landscape maintenance contractor to kind of retrain the guys that moving their mindset from the traditional landscape of everything being shaped or a contrived whatever into natural and understanding that that aesthetic is different. So the approach is different. And when everybody was on the same page and understanding that less is more, nature started showing all of us the magic that it has to fix itself in some ways, and that we need to just let it be. So that was an example of a patience in terms of a patient's type of a project where
Mhm.
that was a big part of it, and taking the time to let the plants grow in, and the journey of how when they're put in, they're really small, but giving them a chance to grow into their own space, and the amazingness that you're going to see from that, and then the lack of maintenance that you're going to be required to keep it in sync and thriving all the time. So now they are just so excited because they see what 3 years of patience has brought them, and now we have multiple phases to keep going on this project because they're sold. They see it.
Now you have a proof of concept, and then they get excited and they tell their friends and their colleagues, and you really can make a movement.
I believe I can, I truly do. It's something where when it's explained to people, at first they like the idea, they certainly buy into it from the explaining it aspect, but I think it's often from the conventional standpoints of landscape maintenance contractors, they don't see it's feasible unless they can use their head shears on everything. And their head shears can be used still, but they need to be taught how to use that tool. And that's not the tool for everything. And I think once we learn that there's different tools for different jobs and applying the right strategies at the right time, we're probably doing 50% more work than we need to be out there, I would say on average. And the amount of resources that are wasted from those practices is also astonishing. It really is. The use of water, energy from gas powered, now we're going to electric, everything, the noise pollution, all of these things that don't need to be happening on a repeated, not nearly as frequent basis, would really help to change the mindset, I believe, of the whole industry and what needs to be done. We would develop a whole new level of maintenance contractor that was out there focused on something different, not controlling, but nurturing and being that steward of the land to make that, to basically help that landscape thrive.
This is really inspiring. How could this work with city planners and large new developments, new parks? When do you want to be entered into the discussion? At what phase do you want to enter?
Currently, I'm being found through word of mouth and through efforts that are being put forth to spread the word. But what I'd really like to see happen, where I think kind of the empowerment would really happen, would be where I'm worked into contracts with landscape architects. They value their landscapes, they value their reputation, they value the longevity of their projects. Think about how many landscape architects would benefit from being able to go back to their projects 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, and the project looks as they intended it to be, but it's in all its glory because it's been maintained the way it should have been. Those specs of how the landscape was envisioned are not passed on to the landscape maintenance contractor. The last guy who's left to take care of it, the guy who probably has the most important job. So if I was brought in, or other folks like me, please, others, help me. This would be the type of thing where I'm brought in as part of the contract so that I could do trainings with the crew on site for that specific group of plants. And we would have this relationship from day one where they understood how these plants were to be cared for. It would eliminate tons of mistakes, tons of unnecessary costs. I think our landscape bids would be more correct in terms of their bidding process as well, because they're really going to know how much work they're going to have to do. Speaking to the client to understand that this landscape is meant to be natural. Please don't go out and talk to the landscape maintenance guys and tell him to make everything into balls. That is not what this landscape was supposed to look like. It comes from many different angles, but I feel like if the landscape architect is the one empowered to make this landscape design bring this reality to life, then they should be the ones responsible as well to help steer somebody to help that person make it really come to life for everyone's benefit, because we all will miss out.
Yeah, I think that's great because where I see you fitting in beautifully in this equation is for landscape architects, you do a beautiful planting plan, you write the specifications. A lot of times they're cut and paste from an old project and you just kind of put
Mhm.
them in there. And then even if you do write beautiful specifications that are all in line with what you're talking about, then it's just handed over and then it dissipates and then things fall apart. And I think where the benefits to landscape architects lie is that we want to see our projects flourish, and especially on projects that are portfolio pieces that we want to use for requests for proposals and requests for qualifications. Like, we want beautiful photos of them. We want them to thrive. We want them to function. And it's like you're almost in an insurance policy to ensure
Mhm.
that not only do the landscape architects get to have their projects flourish, but more importantly, it's respect for the plants, right? Like, that's
Mhm.
really what we want. I mean, I feel like that's who your real client is the earth and the plants, and the rest is
Yeah.
a formality.
Yeah, it's humans too. I mean, why are beautiful landscapes created in the first place? To to enliven our environments, to inspire us, to heighten our moods, to help us feel better about day in, day out. We're connected to nature. We feel great when we're in nature. And when we see nature thriving, that makes us feel good. It's
Absolutely.
just a natural feeling. So, why would we cheat everyone, the people who have to go to work at an office building, for example, every day, and they have this $2 million landscape that's put in around the building or whatever, let's say. And then the landscape maintenance guy doesn't get the instructions on how to care for it or what the intent is. And so the landscape ends up not really looking that good in a short period of time. So, what happens to the moods of the people? What happens to the moods of the workers? What happens to the motivation? How do you feel? Those things affect you. You don't realize it. If you came in every day and you saw hummingbirds and butterflies flying around your office, I guarantee you'd be happier than if you saw nothing when you walked in the door. You saw dead plants and things that were not being properly cared for. It really does have an effect on you. It has an effect on what businesses you picked, what restaurants you pick, everything. So there's
Yeah.
a reason why these landscapes are put in. There's reasons.
I also love that you're very hands-on. When we were in Santa Barbara, your hands are in the dirt. You are picking the plants. You rented a big cargo van and you went up to the nursery and like I and you're just loading them up
Build it
with
up.
plants by yourself. And I'm like, "Can I help you?" And you're like, "I got
Yeah.
it." And you're just loading up these 15 gallons
Nails and
and
all. I'm like, I
yeah, yeah. And
got it.
and it's so you're in there. It doesn't take long after somebody meets you to understand that you're the real deal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I love the history about you, growing up with your avocado trees and being surrounded by nature and falling in love with that, because it's very apparent that is ingrained
Mhm.
and it shows in your work and in the results. I always thought that was really cool and fascinating about you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm one of those girls that was a child, and I'd come in and I'd say to my mom, "Look at what I found," and I'd have bugs crawling up my
Yeah,
arm. "Oh,
sure.
that's nice, honey. Come back outside now. Thank you so much for sharing."
And you're still that girl.
I am, and I want everybody to see that
Mhm.
beauty that nature has, and I know that I mean, why do you think national parks and hiking and all of these other outdoor activities are so popular? Because we wanna be in nature, and why can't we have that every day? The goal of what I'm doing is to be able to walk down any city street, and if there's landscaping, you're seeing it thrive instead of seeing it on its way to death many times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sterile, not alive, hurting. In fact, I hear the plants crying when I drive by. They're crying to me, "Help me, help me." So, this is something that just is so deeply ingrained in me that I just couldn't ignore it anymore, and it's something that it will be my lifelong project for sure. It's
Yeah.
something that I'm rolling on now, so I'm not stopping.
And I love that you call it a movement, because really it needs to be a movement in order to
Mhm.
accomplish something so ambitious.
People think I'm crazy.
I love crazy. Crazy is good.
Yeah, no, alright.
We're the ones that change the world. It seems to me what I'm hearing is a lot of what you're doing is just bringing back the simplicity of nature and allowing it to be itself and showing the world and the maintenance crews and the designers and the investors and the municipalities like, hey, we just have to allow them to do what they naturally want to do. We have to do things at the right time and trust. Am I
Mm.
understanding it correctly?
Yeah. I think trust is a big part of it too. There's other things too that talk about as well. But yeah, there's definitely those that are very key. And it's about choices. It's about choices that each of us make every day. But if they're not informed choices, then that's where we go wrong. And we have a lot of things that happen right up to the point where the maintenance crew takes over. And I love these guys. I love these guys out there that are doing this work. It's hard work. It's hard
Yeah.
work. It's relentless. Plants keep growing. But when they're trained and they understand that their actions are truly driving the landscape, they understand and it becomes an empowerment thing for them as well. To empower the employees at the boots on the ground level, the crew leaders, the crews that's doing the work every day, the amount of pride that they have is really impressive after this. Once they
Yeah.
learn these skills, they come to work with a different frame of mind. They hold each other accountable, which is what I really like training in the crew environment because they all learn the same thing. They were all there at the same time. And when they all learn, they watch each other, they help each other. They might give each other a hard time, like, hey, why
Yeah.
are you doing it that way? I didn't, we're all on this page now.
Hmm.
And then they see the magic. They start to understand how they don't have to work so hard and they have time to do other things. I've proven it project after project. The first time I show up, I have to admit the guys are usually like, what's she going to teach us? I'm not
Sure.
sure about this. They're a little apprehensive, get a lot of this kind of like,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And then by the time I leave, they're shaking my hand and telling me thank you.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
uh, so it's a really fun thing to see. I really love that that light bulb can go off for them and that it can make sense and for them to have that pride because I think everybody wants to feel prideful in their work. They wanna know that what they do makes a difference. They
Of
wanna know
course.
that they're having an impact. And when it's beauty that they're impacting, something that's so important to all of us, it
Yeah.
doesn't get any better than that.
I
So,
found some of my, favorite people is being around landscape crews. And I think that
yeah.
they're just, it tends to attract a lot of people that, of course, they need to make a living, but there's other ways. And it seems the ones that gravitate and stay in that field oftentimes very much love the plants. And what I like too is I would go on sites and they would educate me all the time. Like, I want to plant this here, and they're like, "Oh, this might not be the right spot for it, or too much water." And then if we could listen to them too, then everybody wins. And I would just
Oh,
ask
yeah.
relentless amounts of questions. And I found that the more questions I asked, the more excited they were because they're like, okay, here's somebody listening on our end. I would imagine that a lot of your part is listening as well.
It is. And they push back, and I commend them for that. I tell them, "I want this is a relationship that I'm developing with you. You're gonna see me again, most likely, okay? And I wanna be here to help you to answer those questions that you have." And I think that's the other aspect of really doing it at the crew level that's really, really important. I will have different clients reach out and say, "I'm interested in training my crew leaders, my foremen." And I say, "Do they work with the crews each day?" "Well, they check in with them." "No, no, 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 no. That's different." So when I do the trainings with the crew, we're in real life situations. I go out to wherever they're working. I go right to their real landscapes. This is not in a classroom. This is in the field. I love being in the field with the guys. We go out there. I teach them how to basically look at plants and how they grow, to appreciate and honor how a plant grows. Once you understand how a plant grows, whether it's a warm or cool season and some other aspects of it, you have all the knowledge you need to make informed decisions on the fly about what would be best in that situation. And they have the chance to ask questions and build that confidence right there on the spot. Whereas that's lost in translation when it goes to the foreman because all he's doing is his job. He probably, I'm not complaining about anybody. I'm just
Mhm.
saying what I see typically happen, and that is that it gets lost in translation. It really does. And the guys don't have the chance to ask for key questions because they can't ask them because the foreman probably doesn't know. And so this is where we get stuck. And then they go back to the old ways. So the training ends up being not nearly as effective as it could have been. So I find the guys that really embrace this and really take it and run with it and hold their head high and say, "Hey, boss, this is what I'm doing,"
Yeah.
are the ones that have been able to ask questions, the ones that have been able to be there in the moment and to maybe make a wrong decision at some point based on what we're learning and then be corrected right there and say, "Ah, got it." The light bulb goes off because they had that moment. So this is why I've been doing this a really long time. I had my own maintenance company for a few years doing really high end maintenance for estates and things, and I learned where the disconnect was with clients through all my years of horticulture, all my knowledge of plants, all that I've done in my career. It's all brought me to this moment where I'm empowered now to do this for others, and it feels amazing. It feels amazing to have found what I'm really supposed to be doing with my life, and,
Oh, I love
I
that.
can't tell you how happy I am about that.
It shows.
So, it's a very, very genuine passion that I have for sure. Don't make me cry.
No, it's okay. What's interesting about that is not only are you becoming empowered, but you're empowering others. And,
Yeah.
another thing that I really enjoyed about knowing you is that you became very clear on what it is that you want to do. And we were talking a while back, and you're like, look, I have these opportunities to design these beautiful estates, and I would make some money, good money, and you stayed on mission. You stayed on focus. You're like, I'm going to be ultra clear with the world. I'm going to be ultra clear with myself. And I'm going to focus on this maintenance mission, this movement. And now seeing it pay off, it's a really beautiful thing to witness unfold.
Thank you.
And it's important.
It is, and I really do believe that I was given this opportunity to carry this message and to help others see that we can make it so much easier and it can be so much better in every way. And that's
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. Nothing negative about it. I mean, we save money, resources, time,
Yeah.
everything.
Okay. I'm going to paint a scenario for you. And then I want you to tell me how you feel. You're in a garden that is absolutely thriving, right? After like 3 or 4 years of your work and the maintenance and everybody's on board, what do you hear? What do you smell? What do you see
Hmm.
in this garden?
Garden's alive. You can hear all the little pollinators, the bees, the flies, the hummingbirds whizzing by. There's a lot of activity. There's a breeze. You can hear it rustling through the grasses. You can hear the crunch of the mulch as you walk through it, the natural mulch that you let be there, the leaves, the part that feeds the soil. The landscape is alive. It's vibrant. It's colorful. It has its seasonality. A lot of people think here in California we don't have seasonality, but we do. And we have to honor that because the plants have seasonality and they honor that. That is their cycle. When we honor plants and their cycles, their growth characteristics, and just respect them for what they are and what they bring to the world, everything changes. You can't control something that's alive. We don't like to be controlled. Neither do plants.
Hmm. That was really beautiful. And I could envision being in that garden myself. And those are the spaces that create core memories.
Mhm. Those are the places we long to be. That's why we
Yeah.
escape to nature, go to the woods and go to the beach. And there's the rhythm. There's a rhythm of nature that we're part of. We speak that rhythm. It's there. That clock is inside of us, and it's the same rhythm that plants are on. So when we go and we hear the ocean, when we hear the wind blow, when we hear all of these things, it feels calming to us. We feel grounded,
Yeah.
feel connected.
We've been disconnected in our
Oh,
modern
so
society,
terribly,
in our
so terribly.
car, to an office, to a space, to our house, right? Getting that
I
reconnection
love that
back.
it is. I love that you can get nature sounds on your radio. I think that's amazing that you can get sounds of nature.
Yeah,
I think
there's
that says it all right there,
it
doesn't it?
it does say it all. One thing that we didn't talk
Yeah.
about at all is irrigation. Where does that come into play with the work that you do?
Oh, that's a tricky one. So, in most cases, there are irrigators on staff with the landscape maintenance companies. And I find that the irrigators are typically trained much better than the plant folks, the guys who are out there doing the planting, the pruning, and all this sort of thing. The irrigation guys usually have more training, so they have different devices and things that they can utilize to measure how much water they really need to be putting down. I do advise on those things, and I do find that in many cases, what's happening is that irrigation is being applied too frequently and not enough, but not at the right time. So what I mean by that is irrigation could be spaced out and be a little bit more infrequently, but at a longer interval so that the roots are pulled down deeper into the soil. There's a lot of shallow watering that happens out there, and that is causing plants to be dependent upon folks to water them or care for them more, water them more, do all these sorts of things. It also, I see it a lot in situations with trees. The shallow watering is really not helping trees. A lot of trees are getting uprooted after windstorms and things like that because they just don't have good, deep root systems in order to hold them in place.
Okay, one word that best describes a healthy landscape.
Alive.
One maintenance practice you would stop immediately if you could.
Oh, that's an easy one. Shearing.
Share.
Constant shearing into non-natural shapes.
A plant that is most often misunderstood in public landscapes.
Oh, grasses.
Grasses.
Poor grasses. Poor grasses. They only have to be touched one time a year, and
Mhm.
they are made into the most ridiculous shapes. Poor things.
One clear sign that a landscape is being overmanaged.
There's no flowers. There's no life.
Mm,
All you see
right.
is leaves, probably some non-natural shapes too. Yeah.
Right away, that's the first tell.
I think the thing that will truly tell me that I've made a difference will be when landscapes no longer have weird shapes. There may be different natural shapes that can happen. I understand that. How much you prune something or, how little you prune it. But in terms of how you prune it or to the shape that you prune it is the bigger thing for me. And I really just want plants to be able to show us what they can do, whether they're big or small. I just don't want them to be something that they're not intended to be.
Is there opportunities to have some of the plants more curated, and then as the plants move back, like, more and more wild, is there an allowance to kind of mix up some concepts?
In my mind, 100%. Yeah. No,
Mhm,
the part that I'd like to see us get away from, or that I feel we have to get away from, is the strategies that ultimately really kill plants and cause a lot of unnecessary action, costs, water, dump fees, these sorts of things. There's different ways to do natural aesthetics. My techniques are to help you get there probably in fewer steps,
mm,
but to also honor the plant. So I'm doing this combination where the guys are saying that's not reasonable or not possible, but then I'm explaining to them, well, what if you touch it one time versus four times?
mhm.
Then they realize, okay, well, wait a minute, maybe we can do that. So when the landscapes are thriving, they are somewhat of a natural shape and things are being done at the right time so that plants can show us what they have to offer. Those seem like that's a big ask. I know that, but it's
Yeah.
not if we focus on things a certain way. They're small tweaks. They're not even big.
If you were to describe yourself As a plant or a tree, what plant or tree would you be?
Oh, I don't know about that one. I love too many plants to say that, I think. I don't know.
Which would describe I'll tell you mine. I feel like I would
Okay.
be like a bromeliad or maybe even like a pineapple. I feel like I could be a little bit prickly, but if you like take your time and you get me at the right moment, I could be super sweet. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's how I see it.
I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. I guess I always feel like I've had this great connection with grasses.
Yeah.
I think they're very misunderstood. And
Mm.
maybe I see myself as someone who's been a little misunderstood for a period of
Mm.
time in their especially in their earlier years. A lot of people think grasses are tricky or finicky or temperamental and all these sorts of things. But really, grasses just want one thing. They
What's that?
want simplicity. They kind of
Mm.
want to be left alone. They want to have
Mm.
their moment to blow in the breeze and go through their seasons. I have a really strong connection with grasses,
Yeah.
and I love the movement, the sound. They're kind of free. I like the free
Mm.
aspect of grasses and how they don't need to be messed with much. They're beautiful on their own.
I love Muhlenbergias in the wind. It's such a
Yeah, that's
beautiful thing to
those are
see.
nice.
And I
Mhm.
had, plant mentors of mine that showed me how to layer grasses, how to design with them and work, and when it's pulled off successfully, it's really something gorgeous.
I just like the simplicity of grasses.
Mhm.
They're showstoppers in their own right.
Yes. When I was doing a lot of planting plans in Southern California, I had a couple different strategies to help put them together because it was very important to me that they were successful and they worked, and they were beautiful and everything was in the right hydrozones. And one of the trusted sources that I used was San Marcos Growers. I used their website. They had a lot of really good information on the plants, and I was able to use that as a resource. But another thing that I did is I would call the nurseries and have long conversations with the nurseries. I know they're really busy, but they always seem to find time to communicate about the plants. I wanted to ask you about how important is establishing good relationships with people that are specialized in this industry.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks that are moving on, that are have reached retirement, that are no longer available as resources, and that's definitely gonna be felt in the industry. So, to know that there are more people coming up in this industry that are learning and really diving into, you know, where we're going with our landscapes, I think offers a lot of opportunity as well for people to rise up and really shine and help me and others help the plants, just help the plants move forward in a way that will honor them, like I said before, and not force us to become slaves to them and where we're constantly trying to just control them or make them do something we want them to do when it's just not in their DNA. So you can never stop learning. I'm always learning. I go to nurseries all the time. Um, if you go to Home Depot, you can learn about plants. I'm always going into the garden center and learning about a couple new plants that have come out or whatever. There's always the opportunity to learn, and I think that that's as we continue to put out new varieties and all these sorts of things with plant material, these selections and hybrids and everything, you really do need to pay attention to what's going on because a lot of these plants are being bred with incentives as to why they were bred for drought tolerance or longer flowering or the size of them is smaller overall so that we can put them into landscapes that are smaller as a whole. So there's lots of reasons to follow what's going on with plant material, a lot of reasons. And it's interesting because I find myself going back to a lot of old standby plants, plants that were just the original versions of themselves.
Such as
Such as, let's see, well, just straight species of plants. For example, like Dodonea viscosa, the green one over the purpurea, for example, which is a mutation, a sport. The green one's incredibly durable. Lots of other types of plants as well, grasses, shrubs that I can think of, improvements on shrubs that have been made. Some are better, some are not.
Hmm.
But it's learning the little that the plants do at different times and their sensitivities that becomes really where the rubber meets the road in terms of being able to be really effective in maintaining plants, but also knowing which plants to put on projects as well.
A lot of my work is photography work for landscape architects, and it's a very important part of our business. It really hit me when you said that how many times you hear that landscape architects want to photograph their work and they can't because they're not thriving. And I understand that because I hear that all the time and we have to time it just right. But if they're thriving all of the time and they're beautiful and healthy, then that means that all of our projects are beautiful and we could photograph them and show them
And
for
then
to get more work. And so there's many different ways of looking at this, right? Like you could be the plant person that's genuinely caring about that, which is what we all ideally want, I would think. But then even if it's a pragmatic business decision to allow your landscapes to flourish because this is what you promised the client in your renderings, and this is not what's being delivered after year 2 or after year 3.
I'm open to ideas. I think there's many ways to get the word out. I also would like to do workshops
Mhm.
through my social media. I'm going to be promoting workshops. My social media is Kinship League on Instagram. And I'm also doing there for maintenance professionals as well as landscape architects to learn, anybody who wants to learn about landscape maintenance. I'm doing short tutorials, videos of myself or someone else doing the work in a particular situation to a plant. And then it's in English and then it's followed up with the exact same video in Spanish. And it is all done with audio and captions both.
I love it. You're crushing it. That's so cool. Movements need help and they need people to onboard. What would help your movement? What kind of resources do you need? What kind of buy-in do you need? What kind of attitudes need to have? What kind of support do you need for this movement?
So I believe there is a recognition already that this is a problem. Okay.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't feel that or if other people hadn't told me. I've had several people tell me that I should be doing this for a very long time. And I've always been trying to figure out how to do it in an effective way where I could touch or impact a larger group of people. Like you said before, I was doing a lot of more residential type work and things, which was rewarding. I enjoy it. I enjoy the people I work with and everything, but I wasn't making the impact that I wanted to make. And so in the last 2 years, I've really changed my focus. And now through various avenues, I am um, offering that help, that guidance, the consulting to the industry at large to let me help them to say there is a way to learn, there is a way to become more knowledgeable about how to improve not only the quality of the landscapes, but the morale of your employees, the retention of your employees, because they're happy and they see the efforts that they're making. If we had a mindset change, I feel that's the biggest aspect of this, and that each of us started doing our small part. One being landscape architects, stop overplanting. Tell your
Mm.
tell your clients, inform, educate your clients, communicate with your clients that this is not the proper way to do a landscape. There needs to be a little more time and that you need to allow the landscape to grow into its best possible self. And that the landscape maintenance guys will be able to take care of it as you intended it to be. But when you overplant, you and even some companies I know will actually develop a 5-year plan for taking plants out, which just seems
Yes.
so crazy to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just think that's insane. I mean, that just says something right there about how influential money is, and I really struggle with that because if we're trying to do the right thing, then patience should be something we can teach as well. And when landscapes have patience involved, they have the best possible outcome. So, landscape architects, yes, I'm going to be coming to see you. I hope you all listen to this and understand that you are a vital part of this process. Because when the maintenance guys get your landscapes that are overplanted, they don't know what to do and they
Mhm,
start hedge trimming like crazy because it's all they know how to do. And in
mhm.
some cases, I tell them, yeah, you're kind of stuck. Hedge trimming might be your only thing to do, or start pulling out plants yourself. And that is not what you want to happen. Trust me.
I can't even tell you how many projects that I've worked on where the client says, "We want day 1 beauty." And I'm guilty of this. I've done it, and I apologize. But I've had to plant from day 1, overplant and almost full size, and knowing,
Mhm.
this was a I can't say the client, but it was a hotel in Beverly Hills, and they were adamant that they just wanted day 1 beauty, and I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to pull these plants out," and they're like, "Yeah, we know." It was sad, and, they don't take those plants and then re-put them somewhere else. A lot of times, I'll see a dump truck there, and they just throw them.
Mhm. Sometimes they can't get salvaged either because they're
Yeah,
so tight in there that systems are destroyed just trying to pull them out.
yeah.
Have this movement really happen, uh, we need buy-in. We need other folks to promote this sort of new philosophy of less is more when it comes to landscape maintenance. Timing and technique is important, and to roll these ideas out to your crew members so that they can start to make an impact and a difference. The other part of this that's very interesting is that all the companies that I talk to, they're very hesitant to understand the part about how if you're doing things a little bit differently to the landscape, how much time you really are saving yourself in the end to do other things. Now, I proved this to myself with my quarterly and biennial maintenance practices. I set it up that way on purpose because I knew plants didn't grow every week or every 2 weeks. You need to let them grow, see what they're doing, maybe come back and clean them up a little bit, but it doesn't mean you have to hard cut them or prune them into a ball or whatever. And with that quarterly and biennial maintenance, the clients responded as well. So I didn't need any more, you know, kind of, what do I want to say, verification that this was going to
Mhm.
work because I saw it my own eyes. And the clients responded as well. And so did the plants. Everybody was happy. So it does work. And it is something that can be put into practice. It's just we're so set in our ways that we can't see. We have blinders on. They're just so tight. We can't see the possibility of another way to do it. Yet I know through practice, when it is done a different way, everything falls into place in a different kind of rhythm that is very doable. It doesn't have to be all done at the same time. There's not this kind of fear factor that comes in like, oh, I got to control the landscape because it's going to get out of control really fast. And so I just got to start cutting everything. That's not the right mentality. It's actually knowing when to hold back, knowing when to say, I don't need to do this right now because it's not the right time. I have other things that are more important that I should be tending to. And this can be something that I can come back to in 2 or 3 months when it's the appropriate time. So I need buy-in. I need people that want to get on board. Uh, I really want landscape architects to see this as a value for their clients and for their own firms to continue and perpetuate their longevity and their amazingness that they're putting out there in the world. So many landscape architects that I've talked to say, I got to go get pictures of that project, but I don't think it looks very good because the landscape maintenance hasn't been very good. That's sad.
Well, I could
So
attest to that. Yep.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people say that, and I don't wanna see that be the case anymore because I see those landscapes every day. So, can I just
Yeah.
say, "Hire me?"
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And
like, I
I'm gonna
feel.
need other people to help me too. I mean, I'm gonna need more staff and other people that buy into this, and I am actively looking for people, but it takes a certain type of person, It can be taught, but to go out there and wanna work with the crews and to do all these other things, some uniqueness in that person because you're promoting a new philosophy that is probably going to get a fair amount of pushback to begin with. until it
Mhm.
starts to perpetuate itself and people start to see the results of these actions.
That pushback, you're already anticipating it, and you've already gone through the motions so many times that it feels to
Yeah.
me like you know how to deal with that just by showing and communicating, and they believe.
It just takes time.
It takes time. If I owned a firm, I would want to bring you in and just talk with all of the designers. I feel like there's
Mhm.
opportunities for you to be brought in to firms all across Southern California and wherever else that you would want to go, and just start there and create like this trickle down, because the landscape architects could talk to the clients can then understand a new perspective, and then the specifications, then you become the liaison between the design and the maintenance crews, and then we slowly start putting together this movement, and the movement of having thriving, beautiful, alive gardens.
It is on my plan to visit landscape architects' offices that will hear me, will listen to what I have to say regarding this new idea, philosophy. And it is going back to basics, to be honest, like you said earlier. So I am going to be reaching out to landscape architects' offices and have a 20 to 3-minute presentation that I can show them. Just really hope that you'll all be open to the idea. You'll reach out and have me come to talk to you so that I can show you how this can change. It is possible, and that you definitely have control and can really help me make this happen and help us all for our landscapes.
Landscape architects love any chance to get out of the office. I think there's a good opportunity for you to do garden walk tours. And I think that they would be really enjoyable, and you'll be able to demonstrate in real time the benefits of it. And it would, and no shortage, because anywhere you look, you could see a garden that's not thriving, and you could compare and contrast it, do live walks,
Right.
talk about it, get them
Right.
excited. And so I'm gonna put this out there. I know Wendy really well, really respect her, and I think that any firm would benefit of reaching out to her. There'll be links in the bios and in the transcript and on YouTube and Spotify and so forth, where you could reach out to her and invite her for a garden walk or an office visit, and beginning that communication. When your movement is a success, what does it look like? You're standing back and you're looking and you're like, okay, we did it. All of us, we joined forces and combined. And what do you see if you look out? When you're driving now in Pasadena, and you're looking out and you're seeing parkways and parks and corporate plazas, and everything went according to plan. What are you looking at?
This garden is a place that nature wants to be. And I think anytime nature wants to be somewhere, especially if it's a contrived landscape and nature is still coming in, then I think you've succeeded in your mission for that landscape.
So, Kinship League, what does it mean? How did you come up with that name, and why?
So, Kinship League is out of a love for plants. Basically, I feel like I have a kinship with plants, and I'm gathering up a group of people that have a similar kinship with plants. That we love plants. We feel like they're part of our family, and
Mm.
so we're the plant lover family.
We need some T-shirts. We need some Kinship
I
League
know,
T-shirts.
we're working on bandanas, as well as, we'll have some T-shirts. Yeah, we're gonna have some swag for sure.
I love
But
it.
this year, definitely, we'll be doing some workshops where people can come out, you can participate, you can, bring your clippers if you want, and the idea is to have it in real gardens, nothing contrived, everything is in a real garden. We go there, we see what the struggle is, and then we talk about what the best approach would be. So again, that's that hands-on learning that it's the way I learned in horticulture, and it resonates the best with me. And I find that you do it once, you do it twice, you never forget.
I love
So
it. Closing thoughts or ideas that you want to share with the world?
help me, help me make the landscapes a better place for all of us. Imagine driving down the street and seeing nature flourish everywhere you look, in our cityscapes, in our parks, anywhere you go, that an HOA, government offices,
Mhm.
amusement parks, anywhere you go. Think about the level of design. Think about the level of maintenance that happens at Disneyland, for example.
Mhm.
That's attainable everywhere else, honestly, it really is. It's just through skills and practice and knowledge. We can all get to that level, and it is attainable.
Wendy Proud from Kinship League. That is also your website, correct?
Yes, kinshipleague.com.
Mm.
On my website, I have a great explanation and kind of what it is that we do, as well as the services that we offer, which could even be more things than what we have listed there. This is an ever growing movement that I think as it goes on, we will find more and more ways to get the word out and more and more ways to pass along the skill sets that are necessary to have this really become reality.
I love it.
And it
I'm
will.
on board. I wanna be part of the league. Let's do it.
Yay! Let's do it.
All right, Wendy, thank you so much.
Thank you.